by the way, that I was doing before. So I was not impressive before. I'm not going to be any more impressive on the phone, but the phone does work here, and we do not have Wi-Fi. So I have asked, since I'm not going to be able to share documents from my computer this morning, I'm wondering if anybody read the chat. It says, if you have the Lojong slogan doc available, would not be a bad idea to have it there for yourself. And if you don't, of course, I'll do my best to help you with that. But if you have that, it might be a little bit helpful, not essential in any way, by the way. And then the second thing is we're going to look at the commentaries a little bit this morning of my favorite, for sure, one of my favorite Lojong mind training slogans. That's what Lojong means, remember, mind training slogans. And this slogan is drive all blames into one. And the question that I invited for inquiry on Saturday was, what or who is the one? And we were going to try to talk or chat about that this morning, live or on a document, live or a chat. I'm going to fix this a little bit because I think we're good there. So I'm just going to check in, chat, see, make sure that we're all doing fine. Extra, we are recording, by the way, in case Leslie is or is not on. She did ask that I try for that. And I think particularly for this slogan, which is in point 3, and I want to talk for a second about there's 7 points to the 59 Lojong slogans. And I want to talk for a minute. I'm going to wait till all the way till 5 after to begin that discussion, because I want everybody to remember what about those 7 points. And, you know, in the Buddhist tradition, as we know, we are always trying to make things as pith, as concise, as memorable, because this was an oral tradition. Even at this time, not a lot was being written down. And so something we can recollect. One of the fun things, I was actually, you might find this hard to imagine, but in our birthday party, family birthday party for my sister Libby and my mother, who turned 84 on August 19th and is an amazing individual. I hope you get to meet her sometime, for those of you who haven't. We were sitting around the table together, really trying hard to be socially distant, which I'm noticing is so difficult with the people we love. We just want to touch them, right? I want to hug my friends. I'm struggling because there's been an agreement in our family that we will not do that, so that we can be safe for a 91-year-old family member. But it's challenging. Well, it becomes extra challenging when you're celebrating the life of someone, I noticed. But we were sitting around the table together for a time, just chatting. And of course, we end up chatting about the things that are interesting to all of us. So the things that were interesting to me were the Lojong slogans. And I was just saying, hey, you know, what's really been handy is being able to call some slogans to mind, to recollect words, which have been helpful. My husband and I have come up with the word copacetic, which was his creation, to mean I am not in any attempt to cause harm or conflict, which we've used together. And Libby said, oh, well, that's pretty good, because I had a dream about you. And I actually came up with a slogan of my own. I don't think Libby's on. I hope she'll watch. Oh, she is on. Here she is. Lib, do you want to come on and say what your slogan is?
Sure, sure, yeah. Well, it wasn't
Can you unmute?
dream. It wasn't a dream. It was actually during meditation. And so it was just because of the, when you have conflict, that's really unnecessary conflict. It just came to me to say potato, potato. That was rather than 3 miles, it's 5 miles. Yeah, okay, potato, potato. That was what it was.
Yes. And that has also now been used several times. Uh, I might say successfully. It actually works really well if there can be a little bit of humor, by the way, in the slogan. Thanks, Lib. If you can remember it easily, these are the points of the slogans that I think are so critical. Drive all blames into one, I believe, by the way, has been misunderstood often. And I think it's unfortunately even been taught incorrectly. And so we're going to practice with blame first. And then let's talk about where you have landed, both in your confusion, in your misunderstanding, in your not seeing clearly, not having a depth of wisdom or understanding yet, as I have not always had with this slogan. And now the invitation of point 2, by the way. So I want to talk about that for a moment, and then we'll practice. No, Dennis, I cannot show you the slogans. I am on the phone at quite a distance. I will offer the document to you again when I get out of retreat, but I do not have access to the documents myself. So here's the first 3 slogans. We're moving into point 3, which is relative bodhicitta, how to use the slogans in our everyday life, which is why I think I so love the drive all blames into one. But let's review for 1 second point 1 and 2. So very briefly, point 1 is the preliminaries. Begin at the beginning was my slogan for that, only because I remember the song Begin at the Begin. And begin at the beginning means even before meditation. Point 1, even before you begin meditation, set your aspirations and intentions correctly. And so they're called the preliminaries. And we reviewed over several weeks and are continuing. I recite them a little bit, and I'll do it again in the practice today. But that means recollect these 4 thoughts or these 4 reminders. And they are, as we remember, the preciousness of human life. I always recollect that naturally. Like, how fortunate am I to be here in this day, in this world, with the possibility of realizing love, joy, happiness, and awakening. And I begin every day that way because it's true. I don't know what happens after the body dies. I do have confidence that there are elements or aspects of our thoughts, words, and deeds that do continue. And I do know that it will look different. And so I feel very blessed and privileged to live this day like this. That's the preciousness of this human life. You'll hear me say it often. The second one is the reality that as precious as it is, it will not last. That there will be change, that there will be disruption, chaos, that the continual movements, changes of life will occur. And with that will come death. And it asks us to reflect and remember this as well. I also like this reminder because it helps me remember, 1, that nothing is permanent, not even the self that I think is sitting here, not even the pain, distress, or discomfort that I imagine is forever or always, or from beginningless time to forever. The third is the reality of karma. Also very important that how we think, speak, and act will have direct, immediate, and long-term consequences and results. And it asks us to recollect and remember that. And then the beyond karma, which is the shorthand version for that, it asks that we recommend that we remember the reality of suffering. It is not something we would recommend. In fact, the recommendation is to pursue the path as fervently, as actively, as committedly, as wholeheartedly, as every day and unconditionally as we can towards the end of suffering. And this path and these teachings remind us that this is possible, and I know it to be true, and I know that you know it to be true as well. And so these are not Buddhist perspectives in any way. They are the realities of our life and our world. So that's the preliminaries. That's the whole point one, is simply that, the preliminaries. In point two, which we've been focusing on the last few weeks, the work has been then absolute, ultimate, unconditioned, awakened mind, which means resting in Alaya, be like a child of illusion, take the ultimate no self perspective, shunyata, emptiness, touch into the truth of emptiness. And we will do that also. And the reason we do that ultimate bodhicitta first, a lot of people feel that it is challenging to begin there. I have to say, I have skipped point two in my previous years because I did not sufficiently understand it, and in my early training. And by the way, it caused a lot of trouble. And so I will not encourage you to do it. I also skipped many years guru yoga. What's the point? Let's get here and confront this. But we need to be resourced. We need to have those essential supports. We need the reminders. We need to rest first in ultimate and absolute heart mind before we have the capacity. Then through the wisdom and compassion of emptiness or shunyata, we then are ready to open ourselves completely and exchange ourselves, because then we recognize that in fact there is no exchange, that I am you and you are me. And if you are not happy, I could not hope for happiness. And if I am not happy, you could neither be happy as well. But we have a lot of mind habits. And point three, it really says, take all, begin to work with compassion in the training, and begin with yourself. And so that's how we'll do it today. And then we'll focus a little bit on blame. And then I will get the document that I have here, though I will not be able to share it. I'm so sorry. And we'll look at that together. How does that sound? So because I don't have a document, I don't have a particular poem, and I think that's just fine. I think the reminders, the four thoughts, will serve us. So prepare for sitting. Establishing yourselves. I have to take off my shoes. I'm up here at Quest Haven, which by the way is gorgeous, 79 degrees, not humid at all. I was so relieved to arrive here because I was feeling pretty sticky to this beautiful space and sacred place that is our practice home. And so finding a posture that invites alertness, awakening, attention. And we're just going to take a brief moment to connect to the body and connect the body parts to the whole. beginning at the bottoms of the feet. So if you can take the attention and the breath and move them both down the body to the feet. I'm feeling a rug beneath me because I'm inside right now. You may be feeling your feet in the bed, on the floor. If you're outside, maybe in contact with the mat. And pay attention to sensations that are both external, that which is in contact with the feet, and that which is internal to the feet. We're breathing down and into the feet, feeling their vibrancy, their aliveness, maybe even achy, tender, maybe areas of the feet that are numb or have no particular sensation. Invite them all. Grounding into the feet, and then moving up from the feet into the legs. Just inviting a few breaths here, internal, external, and both. Moving up the legs into the hips, feeling the weight of the body. And as solid as you feel, the reality is that as much or more of you is not in the seat, based on atoms and particles and electrons, they're bouncing all around. As much as you believe you are solidly in your seat, just keep in mind that things are not so solid. You are also well off the seat. And then making contact with the base of the spine, gathering our breath and attention there, and then just moving up the back. Sensing the back breath, the back ribs, the expanding and contracting nature of the ribs. Up to the shoulders, taking a nice breath here. And then moving down the shoulders into the upper arms. Down the arms, into the wrists, into the hands. Feeling the aliveness here. It's often a warmth, a little sense of the pricklies. Remembering this is a beautiful time to recollect the benefit that the hands can offer. And we remember a slogan, where the hands go, the heart goes. Where the heart goes, there is love. And so offering those hands a receptive, engaged mudra. My hands, for example, are just holding the bell, and that, for whatever reason, continues to invite that crucible of openness for receiving, opening to, welcoming whatever appears, whatever arrives this present moment. But not to be held tightly, rigidly, not to be kept. Joko used to say, hold your hands in the shape of the zero, letting all things come and be and pass and go. And then moving back up from the hands up the arms with the in-breath and up the back of the neck, the head, and the top of the head. And this is where I often check in on my upper body posture. And we're not trying to accomplish anything here. This is a being practice, not a doing. We're just checking in with how we are, not trying to be some special way. And we have to be watchful of that egoic enterprise, don't we, in the practice? When we're alone, and especially when we're together. And then we're going to come down now. Well, no, let's not. Since we're up at the top of the head, I like the idea of inviting that light of goodness, the guru, the deity, the Buddha, whatever images represent goodness, awakening, open-heartedness, love and compassion, and the open mind of wisdom. And the way I do that best is to recollect moments. I've called them twinkling lights, and I place them up above my head, inviting them into this light source. And I recollect beings, family, friends, people who are alive, people who are dead. I call them all here, inviting that goodness in, remembering that kindness, love, compassion, and wisdom has and is being extended to me, even at this very moment. Maybe particularly at this very moment, arriving here. And you can picture faces, bodies, moments, phrases, whatever ignites and invites that heart of bodhicitta. And we know that the heart mind is the same, citta. Remembering that you are loved. And have been shown infinite, truly, infinite love and kindness in this lifetime. Calling them all into this source at the top of the head, the guru. And then beginning to let that liquid, golden, warm, glowing light, goodness, however you can experience it, begin to let it flow down from the top of the head, down over the body. Over the face, the neck, the ears, down into the neck, the throat, the shoulders, coming to rest here in the shell or shelf, however you can see it or sense it, here in the heart space. And this is the heart of bodhicitta. You can use the physical heart as a beginning, but we don't solidify it. It is actually also a source of radiant light. And I use my hands here. It is here that we recollect the preliminaries. We set the heart, mind, body, being for the practice, for the meditation. remembering the preciousness of this human life, we smile and we relax. Recollecting the truth that all phenomena are impermanent, that nothing can be held, kept, made constant. And so we let the breath itself begin to move in and out of this area of the body in a natural, effortless flow. We remember the truth of karma, of cause and effect, that this moment and how we arrive in it, with it, determines the next. And so we train in this present moment. And then we recollect and remember the truth of suffering. And from that recollection, we commit ourselves completely to the end of suffering. This is the birth of compassion. And that's point one. Begin at the beginning. We have set ourselves perfectly now to rest in absolute or ultimate bodhicitta, just letting the radiant heart mind, the awakened heart mind of bodhicitta begin to move in all directions. And you get to begin with yourself. Remember, that's one of the slogans. And so we first just begin to radiate this goodness, this light, this love, compassion, and wisdom throughout our own bodies. Then moving from the body in its time. And you don't follow my instructions here. You see how long it takes you. If it takes the entire practice, that's perfect. We're radiating this goodness, this light, this love, and this wisdom in all directions beyond the body in its time, from the forward and to the back. You can even feel the breath begin to move and expand this source of bodhicitta in all directions. And above and below. Left and right. And then in the corners, in the 10 directions, we can send out that light, we can breathe out that love. And let's just rest here for a few moments. You're making contact with the breath, the body, and then moving beyond the breath and body with that radiant light source, with that goodness, out into the vast open space. Letting this awakened heart mind take the shape of that boundlessness. Breathing in the goodness, breathing in the guru yoga practice, filling, fueling, nourishing oneself. and letting that radiance expand in its own time. One of the slogans from point 2 is rest in Alaya. It simply means rest in the vast, wide, open, luminous space of bodhicitta, of awakened heart mind. And you can let everything come and go within it that is not seen as a distraction. I'm hearing sounds of birds. And feeling the vast open space here, right here at Quest Haven, in which those bird sounds are coming and going. And I'm just resting in the open space, sending out that radiant light, that good medicine, that goodness. There is no disruption. There is no distraction in the vast open space. Everything is included, invited, allowed. It is not the focus of the practice. We just simply let those things come and go. Remembering that our true nature is this very boundlessness. But we do not make it me. We do not make it mine. We do not make it I. We rest in the true nature of all beings. We make it bigger right away. The collective awakened heart mind, the Buddha nature that is our true nature. And we're going to remember to set appropriate aspirations and intentions in this practice. And so if resting in Alaya in this wide open, vast space is just right for you, then you stay right here. And just as we do not claim the body, we do not claim the breath, we do not claim the sensations, we do not claim the sounds, we do not take claim of thoughts or emotions. And this is where the work gets pretty big. We're so identified, we're so fixated. These are simply mind habits in their appearance, brilliant fireworks. Can we see them and let them go? Resting back in open space. And as we rest in bodhicitta, this is point 2, we notice all experience, though it seems solid, is but a dream. A temporary phenomenon rolling on. And we see if we can rest back, and here's some of the words in point 2, in unborn awareness. No beginning, no middle, no end. Only the objects appear and disappear. And in this point 2, we cling to nothing. We don't hold an object. We don't try to keep an object. We self-liberate is one of the words used in the slogan. Self-liberate, even the antidote, even the practice itself. We don't keep anything. We simply continue to rest back. And as we become the observer, the watcher, as we become bigger, we begin to see the nature of suffering, the clinging to illusions, the clinging to appearances, the clinging to objects, the clinging to some solid, fixed, identified sense of self. And we see that suffering exists from that relationship to the objects, from that quality of mind that is craving. Craving for permanence, craving for comfort, craving for security, craving for a constant sense of self. And we see the realities here, that illness, aging, and death are realities that begin to feel like violations as we work to preserve and solidify. We see if we can simply continue to dissolve that permanent fixed sense, resting in Alya. We begin to recollect the slogans. These words may be helpful to us. We begin to ride the breath as we begin to experience the truth of difficulty. I wanted to keep that bird sound. I didn't want this one. We begin to notice the realities of our relationships to objects that we perceive as what? Pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. And we begin to feel for ourselves. This is the birth of compassion. And then in point 3, we begin to work further with challenges or difficulties. We begin the taking and sending with, we can even begin with the good, taking in a moment of love and sending it out. And then we can begin noticing our own wish to keep, our own wish to, or craving. And we can send out then compassion as we recognize our suffering. And this is where we've been practicing with things like making contact with the truth of difficulty or suffering. May I recollect that others, just like me, feel this too. We keep it open, we keep it spacious. We don't collapse or contract, even here. This is the practice of relative bodhicitta. And I'm not going to pick anything right now because we're going to be working with blame in a moment. So I'm just letting things appear and disappear. The sounds of a bird I like, I breathe it in, make contact with its goodness, and send it out. And then I hear a bird, a crow cawing, distracting me. And I'm watchful to remember that the object itself is never the problem. That even in this moment, I can self-liberate by recollecting, here's just an unpleasant object for me. I don't have to cling, contract, run the other way. I can simply rest back in that open space, letting it come and go. And as I breathe out, I can send out relief, first to myself, and then for others just like me who are triggered by unpleasant objects, unpleasant sound, unpleasant thought. It's all in the nature of mind. But we can train on the medium of the breath. We can stay fluid, flexible, flowing, rather than contract and grip up. We can breathe it in Make contact and open back up as we send it out. And we send out relief, whatever that might look like. And remember, we do the training on the medium of the breath for as long as that can be workable for you. And so since I don't want to wear us out, I'm going to invite a specific work as we practice on the medium of the breath, this sending and taking, or Tonglen. We're going to begin to recollect a moment of blame. And the blame object can move in both directions. It could be towards the self or towards another, and we're often doing both. But just pick one for now. And for me, I'm very easily triggered by blame from others. And so I've picked a moment where blame was being directed to me, but it can work all directions. And I'm inviting that experience as immediately, as directly as I can, this moment of blame. I'm recollecting the thoughts, the images that have come to mind. I'm recollecting the face of the other in this moment of blame. And as I recollect it, I can feel a contraction or a tightness, tension begin to happen in the body, particularly in the heart. I can feel like a guarding just coming right over my heart. And if you don't notice anything, that's not a problem. That just comes with the training. Notice what's here. But the way to activate it most completely is to begin to breathe it in. We're not going to stay distant from the blame. We're going to make as deep and wide a contact with it as we can, so we actually can begin to breathe it in. And I can hear this person saying, yeah, right. As I work to defend myself or explain, and I can feel the energy of that explaining distress, of flight pattern. And I'm just letting that happen. I'm not trying to get rid of anything. I'm just breathing in, making contact. This moment of blame. Breathing it in. Feeling the pinch, the grip, the tightness, the tenderness. Breathing it right into the heart space. This is a relative bodhicitta. We're feeling the truth of suffering right here. And as we've been taking in this difficulty, we begin to remember that others, just like me, feel this too. Even though you've got a whole storyline that, nope, this is just me, it's not true. We're all feeling it too. This tenderness, this tightness, this pain, this fear. And then on the out breath, we begin to move back out into the open space with both that phrase, others just like me feel this too. This is beginning to create a little room, a little warmth. And we begin to rest back out into the open space, remembering that this is simply a mind object. It's a mind object with a mind habit. And the habit is one of contraction, resistance, pushing away, becoming sad, angry, even buying in. It's all just habits. And we see if we can rest back enough that we just like that bird sound, just like that sensation, that we can see the truth of these objects, this object we are now focusing on called blame. And the very willingness here to turn towards, to move closer, and to open. We begin to send it out then in that openness, with that warmth, in that wish for relief. May we all be free from this affliction. We wish it for ourselves, we wish it for others, and we send those wishes out, that goodness out, that love and compassion out, right through us. It's not out excluding us, it's us moving out beyond this limited, fixed sense of self. We're not giving something away, we're actually creating more space and room to hold it, not only for ourselves, where we begin, but for all those others, you, me. Resting back into the open space as we send it out. Remembering our true nature, it is not this. This is simply a mind object with a mind habit. But by the very turning towards, we turn it into the virtue of compassion, of kindness, of love, of wisdom. And with this natural bravery, we become braver. We become more fearless, and we turn towards it to do it again. Remembering the slogan from point 2, treat everything as a dream. There is no solid thing called blame. It's an appearance, an experience, a reaction with a contraction, and the possibility of using even this. So where are we driving that blame? Where does it go? We continue to breathe it in. We don't turn away. An ache, a pinch, a tightness, a heartbreak, an object of mind, whatever it is. And we turn it upside down rather than resist and run away. We open even bigger. We can use everything here. We can take the hands, placing them on the heart to invite that connection, that receptivity, and that openness. Just make sure we're not guarding the heart. We can open, breathe it out, sending out that relief. And see what you send out. Let it be very specific. Where does the blame go? Drive all blames into what? And what offers the relief? Compassion comes from contacting the truth of suffering, which requires a certain fearlessness. And by that contact itself, it is transmuted, as we are then, no longer in contraction. We too are transmuted. The habit nature of mind has been blown open. Becoming a virtue. And the virtue is kindness, love, compassion, equanimity, wisdom, patience. And see what happens as you continue to breathe in that blame and get bigger. And then we can picture not only random others or the concept of others, we can get very specific. And so I am now imagining blame that my husband has felt, for example, from me. I'm breathing it in for him. Getting wider, bigger, more porous, more fluid, more flexible. And sending out compassion. And so from that specific, we can then get universal. We can just think of all those others, just like me, just like him, just like you, who have felt this pain, who know this suffering and wish for its relief. We're going to be that good medicine. Rather than contract, we're going to open, become more radiant, more luminous, more open and empty. And sending out the goodness, the light, the healing. And if you don't have enough for others just yet, that's also just fine. We just stay in our own bodies with our own hearts and minds. But now we're going to let go of all of the breath. We're going to let go of all of the reflection on blame, the in, the out, the me, the you, all of that falls away. As we come back to rest in the vast open space. You can use the breath as a medium to getting into the vast open space, breath to air to breath to air. And then resting simply in that vast space if you can. Letting the breath breathe you, continuing to open, to soften. Letting that heart continue to expand. May we all have happiness and the causes for happiness. May we all be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May we take great joy and rejoice at all of our blessings and good fortune, and wish the same for all others, and being happy for their blessings. If you are happy, I am happy. May we rest and dwell in the great arms of love and compassion, wisdom and equanimity. Free from all suffering. So let's take a breath. See if we can open the body a little bit. I'm going to check in for a second while we're here just to make sure I haven't missed anything. So if for some reason you don't have access to the Lojong 59 slogans, let me know, would you? I intended to send it to everyone. I'm seeing who's on the participant list. You should have received it. But if you didn't, I want you to have it, because as you hopefully could feel today, I tried to incorporate as much of the slogan as I could in this practice. And so I want you to have them so that you can begin to say, oh, like that. Right, like that. We're going to go now into point 3, which is transformation of the averse, the difficult or the bad circumstances as the path. And that's the very first thing I want to say. I miss you too, Shivam. I just saw your note come across my phone. Blessings to you. I want you to know that one of the major errors, I think it's spiritual bypass, passing on all of our parts, and I know I've done it a lot during my early practice in particular, is to try to perceive practice as the good news, which of course it is, but also the good news meaning only cultivating qualities of goodness, love, bliss, ignoring and in some way resisting, maybe even refusing the reality that there is also the truth of suffering in this life. And rather than cultivating qualities where we could turn towards it, just like in these Mahayana teachings, I know for sure that I used the practice in the early years for sure as a way of getting out of, like, get me over here, keep me from that. And then when it didn't work, when I couldn't just keep away from the reality of this human life, the reality that there is cravings, fixations, and ego clinging, I fell apart for a time. And I quit the practice. I threatened to quit the practice, though I didn't really, because I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to sign up for that. It's not that interesting to me, I think is one of the ridiculous statements I made. It's not that interesting. And really, it was not until I began really working in the Mahayana tradition that I began to see a way to use the very challenge, to use the very difficulty, to cultivate qualities of fearlessness, bravery, open-heartedness, and a resting mind, open and vast. And I had no feeling for that at all. It took several years from my Zen training to really rest in a deeper openness that included everything. And so point 3 says, let's use everything rather than try to get rid of, push away, rather than cling to the good and reject the bad. Let's see if we can't use everything on the path. And so this is the beginning. And so slogan 11 says, when the world is filled with evil, and that just means the mind habits, by the way, no good versus bad, transform all mishaps into the path. So rather than reject, push away, let's see if we can't open, include, and move towards. And then slogan 12, the one we're going to focus on for the remainder of the time today, drive all blames into one. And so I've sent all of you, I believe, the commentaries from several masters, including Chogyam, including Jamgong, who wrote The Great Path of Awakening, many others, Dilgo, Kensei. And I want to talk, so you're going to go to your chat or come online. What did you notice? Where is the one? Drive all blames into one. And there were many, many words in those commentaries. I'm going to pull them up here to see if I can't catch some of them. But as I am, if you would begin to write in chat, I'm going to go to that. What's your idea about where that one, drive blame where, or see blame where? Chogyam says this, everything is based on our own uptightness. He's hilarious for me. It is our refusal to let go and not developing enough warmth and sympathy. He means compassion. That word was not used. This slogan applies whenever we complain about anything. Even when our coffee is cold, our bathroom is dirty, when everything goes too far. Everything is due to our own uptightness. He means contractedness. He means the ego clinging, the self-cherishing, the self-making habit of mind. And so that's Chogyam's thought. The text says, drive all blames into one. The reason you have to do that is because you have been cherishing yourself for too long. Those are his thoughts. No one is ever encouraged to feel the underlying distress or anxiety. The Shenpa is what the Tibetans call it. The underlying edginess, the queasy tenderness, the soft spot. And so it is easier to blame others, to move out beyond that distress to something external. If it weren't for you, if it weren't for that, if it weren't the coffee, if you weren't in front of me, if you didn't get too close, if you only wore a mask, if you would just be more compassionate or loving, if I could just keep my job, if I could just get my partner to do what I wanted him to do, personal favorite, then all would be well. It is not true. And in fact, here we are in this world, aren't we, where we have some of the most affluent conditions of all people in all time. It makes me cry. We have some of the most comfortable, affluent conditions of all people throughout all time. And yet, what do? We cling more. We grasp more. We contract and comfort seek in a way that will ignore and reject all others, just that I could get it for me or mine. And so that was another. So self-cherishing, self-centeredness, the egoic habit of mind is, for some people, it's actually not my thought, by the way. But that's why I sort of sent these. I thought I'd give you the masters. I'm not quite as smart as these guys. The one is different for me. Ego clinging is drive the blame into that understanding, not into you, but into the understanding of that mind habit. And that mind habit is no one's, right? It isn't mine. It isn't just yours. It's a mind habit. It's merely an appearance, coming and going. And so many of these masters believed that to drive all blames doesn't mean yourself, of course. It doesn't mean this. Do not blame others, but do not blame yourself. Instead, guard yourself. Get in touch with the fact that there's a soft spot there under all that armor, under all that contraction. And blame is probably one of the most perfect pieces of armor to be found. That means a lot to me, because I recognize in every moment of blame, I was simply trying for a false protection. I was trying to get the pain away from me, though the ego clinging was in fact the cause of the pain. I was looking out and away. And it's important to remember. And that's those, Pema says this, drive all blames into one is saying, instead of always blaming the other, own the feeling. And I actually, for me, it means the pain. Own the feeling of blame. I wouldn't say it. I would say the pain, own the pain, get close to the pain, own the anger, the loneliness, and make friends with it. Open when we would otherwise contract. We can use the Tonglen practice to see how you can place the anger, the fear, the loneliness in the cradle of loving kindness, in the cradle of our own open, luminous, purifying hearts. And that's her thoughts. Skillfully and vigorously direct all dharma at the ego clinging. As Shantideva writes, for hundreds of lives in samsara, that means suffering, he has caused me trouble. Shantideva was always doing this to himself. He has caused me trouble. Now I recollect all my grudges and shall destroy you, you selfish mind, you egoic clinging mind. He is chiding that quality of mind. I think that is the real source of suffering is self-centeredness, my car, my possessions, my well-being. Without the self-centeredness, the suffering could not arise. What would happen instead? It is important to imagine this. Think of your misfortune. What would happen if, rather than contract in its face, you could actually open? We do not have to experience the misery. Banish the one object of every blame. This is by, I think, this is translated by Brian Beresford. I really like some of what he said. I'll read that and then let's talk. The accumulation of karmic debt that we owe other beings can be terminated either through intensive meditation or by acceptance of the fruit of those debts. That means that very breathing in is actually inviting payment of our karmic debt, all the mistakes, all the errors, all the harm we have caused. And I've heard that from the Dalai Lama himself, and so feel encouraged by that. So rather than be a debtor, we become a creditor. If you could take only a slap to pay the debt for all your karmic misdeeds, wouldn't you do it? He says here. Okay, I'm going to put this down. So I want to hear what your thoughts are. Let's see what you have to say about this. I think for me, it is to recognize I am blaming and complaining and not get carried away with the usual storyline, but see it and know I am doing it and not even make myself wrong for it. There's no value in it. And there is no you to blame, but not shut down and contract. That's right. Who is causing me pain and suffering? Somehow remain open and included in the openness of all. Yes, well, the practice itself, it says, is the training for that openness. Greg says, contracted, I cannot open, allow it in. I'm hardened, we can't listen, we push it away, we get righteous, we get solidified. The me who is right, the me who feels misblamed, even, that was my example. Allowing to let ourselves soften, yeah, to what really is true, to listen to our true heart mind, really. Then there is an ability to feel what is true, yes, and let go of that ego contraction, reification, identification, fixation. Annika, working with blame seems to shine a spotlight on one's shadow side as well. Not very comfortable. Well, I don't know about that, Annika. I want you to be careful because you're making then the shadow solid. It shines the light on experiences of unpleasantness and our reactions to it, our shutdown, our collapse, our turning away. But remember, we do not mistake our habits any more for ourselves than we mistake the object as ourself.
Yeah.
This is, yes.
Because I think it exposed our lies, or my lies, about what's going on.
Our ego clinging, fixated selves, but don't solidify that either.
Got it.
It's not more true. We don't solidify an object. We don't solidify the mind habit. And we don't even solidify the virtue, do we, in that slogan? We actually let it go also. And that's that self-liberate, even the antidote. We don't even hang on to the good news. We become just the screen door, open, receptive for all of life. And in so doing, and it's a training for sure. And yes, deception is one of our habits, just like the clinging. That's exactly right. Completely serving others is only possible, Dennis, if we can move beyond this limited craving ego mind. The one for me is the mind or the ego, yes, That is where all my blame comes from towards myself and others. Yes, it does. Let it all flow. Got it. Yes. So now I'm going to tell you my idea about this, which, by the way, I think is slightly different. I actually think the one, drive all blames into one, is the one universal, expansive, never-ending, infinite heart mind. That's my thought. Drive all blames into one means drive them right through your limited self, opening up into the one with a big O. That one. Drive all blames into the expanded, enlightened, capable heart mind. This way we are not stuck. This way we are not limited. In this way we are not caught in the grip. We simply move it through. I think Annika said flow. I think Greg said also similar words, opening, receptive. We let the object transmute into that ultimate bodhicitta. And so I want to know your thoughts about that, because I think I have to say, on the relative level, driving all blames even into this idea of ego clinging and cherishing is exactly what Annika did. She went, yeah, then you got to deal with those lies, that deception, that deficiency. I don't think it's the best resting place. So if we're going to move the blame, why not move it all the way through, beyond any limited self, beyond ego clinging, beyond into the vast open space of the awakened heart mind? And I want to know your thoughts about that. I know we only have a few minutes, but I'm curious about your thoughts, because this is what I have noticed, where there then is no blame at all. What do you think about that? Either write me in chat or come online and let me know your thinking about this. I see something there. By driving it all into the heart mind, it is in turn causing less suffering. Well, that's for sure. In fact, I'm going to go all the way to no suffering. I think we see its wisdom. We see where the contraction was. We have to deal with this relative world, don't we? We're there. We don't get out of it. But then, oh yeah, I don't even have to hang on to this. This blame towards me or you. I don't even have to blame the ego. The blame just particles, becomes dispersed. We can turn it into that radiant light that moves through the heart mind. The trick is to first recognize the stories and then let go of them. Yes, we see the objects. We see our mind habit in relationship to them. And then we simply, by the nature of recognition, will transmute and receive compassion, by the way, as the natural arising response of that shunyata, of that emptiness, of that bigness, we could say. I think Chogyam would say something like, get bigger. We no longer are limited by this I, me, you, they idea at all, and don't even have to condemn the egoic mind, which is what I don't want us to do. It's not helpful to go, well, that pathetic ego of mine. If every thought is just a construct, yes, it is, then when you open and expand, it just blends, transmutes. It being blamed, that's correct, exactly. Can you feel that, Libby, for yourself? Yeah, as you move back out of, right, and that's what this medium of the breath, opening, including radiant, it's why we've got to begin in ultimate bodhicitta. Because if you don't know where home base is, you can't get back there. Let me put it to you simply. If you don't know your natural quality, of expansiveness, of openness, of radiance, of luminosity, of emptiness. You can't hope to touch things like blame, shame, regret, grief, remorse, and not be solidified by them. So for me, the big O1 is where we are turning, allowing the flow of that blame to go. That's exactly right, Dennis. There is no blame anymore, and we didn't have to even get rid of it. Isn't that lovely? Yes, exactly. When we're flowing effortlessly in that radiance, the truth is no object. And blame is simply a mind object. It's not solid either. There's lots of space and room in it. And I love this practice for that reality, that resting in the bigness, in the vast, in the luminosity. I imagine a grand piano in a tiny studio versus a gigantic room, etc. Yes, and guess what? That sound wave is not limited by that room at all. In fact, it actually is moving beyond the room. You got in the room, which means there's a portal, and that grand piano sound and the sound waves are moving out throughout the 3 times, present, past, and future. They are not contracted. They are not stuck in any space. It's not even possible in the real physics of our world. That's right. The suffering is not so big when we don't grab it and make it me. It doesn't mean it's not painful. It doesn't make it pleasant. We don't lie about the relative realities of our cravings, of our aversions, of our ignorance, but neither do we grab them as some inherent aspect of who we really are. All right, everyone, it's already 8:30. I'm just going to check in, see if there's any other thoughts about this. I want you to practice with this drive all blames into one. I want you to keep paying attention. We're going to talk about it again on Saturday. Where is the one for you? Where do you get stuck? Is there one you get stuck with? Is there a one you can rest in? Where is the one? How do you get there? And the one for me is nothing having to do with the limited self. It is resting in the vastness, the big, wide open space. Looks like everyone is, we're done with our chat. See how this works for you. If you didn't receive the commentary and would like to take a look at it, I don't think the commentaries speak so much to the one with the capital O. And that's the one I'd like you to look for. Can you take whatever the object, and so then this week we could take anger, we could take confusion, we could take our anxiety and our fear, we could take our feeling deficient, we could take our feelings of unworthiness, everything, mind object, being met with a mind habit, but in the recognition, said Annika, liberated. Liberated. Let's sit together for just a second. I know we've got to go. Thank you all so much for being here with me during this week of personal retreat. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to do Saturday or not. As I get quieter and quieter, that may not be most appropriate, and I will be talking with our board in short text to see what will be most appropriate there. Thank you all. Blessings to you. Let's sit together for just a moment. See if we can invite that flow, that opening, that expanse. Let that concert on that grand piano move out in all directions. And the sutta says the 10 directions and the 3 times. Move out, beyond the past, beyond the present, beyond the future. May we dedicate the merits, the blessings, and the benefits of this practice today and all practice throughout all time. May we offer this to the end of suffering and the realization of true, unconditional happiness and freedom. We offer this first to ourselves, to our loved ones, our friends, our family, in ever-widening circles of love and compassion, sending it out with each out-breath, letting it touch like a fine mist of metta and karuna, all beings and all things. May we remember our true nature, that we are vast, luminous, empty, and completely open. It is only fear that contracts. May we rest in the vast, wide open space of Alya, the essence, sending out all goodness, all love, and all blessings with each out-breath. Continue to train in the medium of the breath as often as possible. May you be well. May you have peace. May we all have peace. And may this practice today contribute and then make it a very good day. So be it. Thank you all. I love you. Be well. I look forward to seeing you soon.